The year is 1995, and you're sitting playing Tekken 2 on your PlayStation. To you, life isn't going to get much better than this. But then suddenly, Japanese filmmaker Mamoru Oshii bursts into your room and says, "Hey dude, I just want to say, I know you're enjoying technology right now, but one day it's going to get so rampant that we basically won't be able to separate ourselves from it, which, I don't know if that's going to be okay, but we might get a cyborg lady who kicks people in the face, so that might be cool. What do you think about that?" "Yeah, I'll get out of your room in a minute." I've actually hurt my knee doing the slide there. She made a cut. Ghost in the Shell is a 1989 manga by Masamune Shirow that has seen spin-offs and adaptations into a variety of different mediums, with a new anime television series coming out just this year. The property, however, is most closely associated with the 1995 film adaptation by Mamoru Oshii, and it's pretty easy to see why. Firstly, its influence on sci-fi since its release is pretty apparent, most notably on The Matrix. The Wachowskis actually showed Ghost in the Shell to the producers of the film and reportedly told them, "We want to do this, but for real." The film also drew praise from James Cameron, and Steven Spielberg at one point actually had the rights to make his own adaptation. This didn't go ahead, but it did lead to the 2017 live-action film with Scarlett Johansson. Ghost in the Shell released in the 90s, which I personally consider the best decade for anime. Just to look at it, we've got Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, Perfect Blue, and Serial Experiments Lain, just to name a few amazing pieces of work. And Ghost in the Shell sits alongside these in being an incredibly three-dimensional, mature, and expressive piece of storytelling. Three of these aforementioned works are sci-fi anime, of course, but it's particularly interesting to compare Ghost in the Shell to Serial Experiments Lain, and even some other later Japanese works like Pulse, or even the video game Metal Gear Solid 2, in how ahead of the curve they were in being technophobic. For some reason, a lot of Japanese artists really beat us to the punch in looking at the rapid technological advancement that was happening at the turn of the millennium, and going, that might not be a good thing. The manga of Ghost in the Shell and the 1995 film predate a lot of the works I was just talking about, and we are still in the timeline where Buzz and Woody are fist fighting an iPad in the new Toy Story film. Book your tickets now for your sins. I don't know why I got so angry at you. I'm sorry. Okay, but hang on. You might be looking at me going but when I look at Ghost in the Shell, that looks cool. There's a cool cyborg lady and she beats people up. There's a guy with sunglasses in his face. That might be subjective, whether you find that cool or not, but, that's to each their own. And yes, the design work of Ghost in the Shell is deeply immersive and absolutely incredible. But it is interesting to note the aesthetic differences between the 1995 film and some of the other adaptations. For example, if you look at the protagonist Major Kusanagi in the original manga and other adaptations like Standalone Complex, they're still great character designs, but it is definitely still the more stereotypical female anime character idea. Whereas if you look at Major Kusanagi in the 1995 film, it's a little different. It's a little different. I heard Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell's here. Let's go talk to her. Hey Major, what's going on? Are you okay? Do you want a coffee? Do you want a latte? I'll get you an Americano. Okay, how's it? Didn't think of a punchline for this. What I'm trying to say is that the overall look of the film is a little more sterile and less poppy than some of the other adaptations. Because while the film does have exhilarating action sequences and great design work, at its core, Ghost in the Shell is a deeply philosophical and existential exploration of a civilization on the cusp of becoming completely synergized with technology. And while some may consider that an evolution, there are a lot of others that might consider that quite the opposite. Happy Monday! Yeah, it's quite funny talking about Ghost in the Shell as a philosophical film because, look at this trailer they put together. Hold on. Right, okay. You got your boy. You got just immediately But the film is so philosophical. As I mentioned earlier, the film is directed by Mamoru Oshii, who is an interesting guy. I like to play a little game with directors I've seen quite a few films from. I like to kind of break down, just from watching their films, maybe what some of their likes and dislikes are. So for Mamoru Oshii, here we go. Likes, cool ladies, cool guys, Beagles. Mamoru Oshii might have been the perfect director to tackle Ghost in the Shell, as he leaves the pulpier elements of the story intact, but he also brings his signature tactility and texture to this film, creating a world that is deeply immersive. I don't want to go too much into plot details with Ghost in the Shell, as it's quite a dense film despite its short runtime, but I do want to bring up an absolute highlight for me, which is the soundtrack by Kenji Kawai, and particularly the main theme of the film, which you will hear during the beautiful opening credit sequence. I can't even really make a joke. I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it now. It's a really haunting and profound piece of music. It might be worth coming to the cinema just to hear that music with our surround sound. It really is that good. For me, anyway. For me. Just know that there's 83 minutes of incredible storytelling and incredible animation after that opening title sequence, so you can't lose, really. So if you're on the mood for great science fiction, great animation, and some of the most iconic imagery in anime history, come and see Ghost in the Shell, Sunday the 12th of July at 12:30. You won't regret it. It's like my business, man. I'm a